It was just after midnight in the remote woods of East Texas, where the night seemed ordinary, until everything changed. Inside the quiet home of the Terry Caffey family, sleep deepened. The mother, the father, and their 2 young sons believed they were safe behind locked doors. Their 16-year-old daughter, Erin Caffey, lay upstairs, unaware the calm would soon shatter. Then, without warning, the silence turned into terror. Bullets ripped through the dark. Footsteps echoed along the hallway. One father, riddled with bullets, heard his children's screams. The intruders struck with ruthless precision, believing every victim had been silenced. But they were wrong. One man crawled from the inferno, barely alive, determined to tell the story of that night. Why did this invasion happen? Who plotted it? And how did a seemingly ordinary Christian family become the target of a murder spree that made headlines across the country? Brace yourself. This is a story about betrayal, violence, fire in the night, one man crawling through wreckage and blood to survive, and a daughter whose involvement stunned a nation. Welcome to InsightWave, the channel that delves into both solved and unsolved cases from around the world. If you haven't already, please take a moment to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest crime stories delivered straight to your inbox. The Caffey family lived deep in the quiet woods of Alba, Texas, a place where nights were still, days were simple, and faith shaped nearly every aspect of life. Terry and Penny Caffey were known in their community as devoted Christians. Terry played guitar in the church worship band. Penny homeschooled their children for years, teaching them from the kitchen table while the smell of fresh coffee and biscuits filled the house each morning. Their sons, Matthew and Tyler, were bright, energetic boys. And their daughter Erin was the eldest, quiet, soft-spoken, and deeply loved. To the outside world, the Caffey home looked like a picture of stability. But inside, a shift was happening. One that no one recognized at the time. Erin had been homeschooled for several years after being diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, but in late 2007 she returned to public school. And everything changed almost overnight. She was 16, eager to fit in, eager to feel normal, eager to experience the freedom she felt she'd missed. And she found that freedom in the form of a boy. Charlie Wilkinson was older, charming, and rebellious in a way Erin had never been allowed to be. She worked at the local Sonic at the time, and Charlie would often meet her after shifts, lingering in the parking lot, holding her hand, making her feel wanted. To Erin, it felt like her world had finally opened up. To her parents, it felt like something was slipping away. It began with small things. Arguments about curfews, school, chores, and homework. But the real tension started when Terry and Penny discovered Charlie's MySpace page, filled with profanity, sexual references, and posts they believed were completely inappropriate for their daughter. When they found the promise ring Charlie had given Erin, that was the final straw. They told her the relationship had to end. But for Erin it was already too late. She believed this was love. Her first love. The kind worth fighting for. Even if she didn't fully understand what that fight would lead to. Looking back later, Erin said, "I made bad choices at a young age. Like covering up one lie with another." It was a quiet confession, one spoken years later, after the damage had already been done. But it captured the truth of those months perfectly. Erin felt torn between two worlds. The strict, faith-focused life she'd grown up in, and the intoxicating pull of a new relationship that felt like freedom. Terry, heartbroken by the sudden change in his daughter, struggled to understand her distance. He later said, "That was my daughter. That was a struggle at first. But I was able to forgive her and rebuild our relationship." But at the time, forgiveness felt far away. The house grew tense. Conversations turned into arguments. Erin began sneaking out. Her mood swung wildly. The girl who once sat beside her father in church now slammed doors, whispered on the phone late at night, and pushed back against every rule set for her. Still, no one could have imagined what she was capable of, or how far things would go. In the weeks leading up to the attack, Erin's frustration hardened into something darker. She felt trapped, watched, controlled. And somewhere in that emotional chaos, a terrible idea took shape. Whether she fully meant it at first or only said it out of anger, the thought was there. If her parents were gone, she could be free. It was the thought that would set everything in motion. A thought that would soon become a plan. A plan that would turn the Caffey family home into a nightmare. And all of it began with a daughter in quiet rebellion. A conflict no one saw clearly until it was far too late. As winter settled over East Texas in early 2008, the tension inside the Caffey home had reached a breaking point. Erin felt suffocated by her parents' rules, angry over the breakup they forced, and desperate to keep Charlie Wilkinson, the boy she believed she couldn't live without. And Charlie, equally infatuated, fed that fire. He told friends that Erin's parents were ruining her life. He convinced himself that the Caffeys were standing between him and a future with the girl he loved. And as their secret conversations grew darker, a line was crossed. The murder plot didn't start with a detailed plan. It started with a teenage fantasy, whispered lines like, "I just wish they would disappear." But over days and weeks, those words became something more concrete. Something dangerous. Charlie wasn't alone. He brought in his friend, Charles Wade, who had a reputation for being unstable and eager to prove himself. Wade's girlfriend, Bobby Johnson, tagged along as well, desperate to stay close to the excitement. And Erin. Whether she meant every word or simply never stopped the words she should have, she fed the fire. Prosecutors later argued Erin encouraged the plan. Erin, years later, denied asking anyone to murder her family. But investigators uncovered messages, statements, and testimony showing she was involved in the planning for nearly a month. The wedge between Erin and her parents was deepening, and she didn't stop the people around her from crossing it. The date was February 29, 2008. Just before midnight. The woods outside Alba were silent, still, and moonlit. Inside the Caffey house, everyone slept peacefully. Terry and Penny in their bed. 12-year-old Matthew in his room. 8-year-old Tyler asleep across the hall. And Erin alone in her bedroom upstairs. Outside, headlights briefly flickered between the trees. Charlie, Wade, and Bobby parked down the road, stepping out of the vehicle with gloves, weapons, and a plan that made the quiet night feel suddenly cold. They approached the house on foot. Charlie carried a .38 caliber pistol. Wade held a samurai-style knife. Inside, Terry Caffey woke to a sound he could never fully describe. A noise that didn't belong. Then, gunshots. Screams. Footsteps. And utter chaos. Charlie fired first. Point blank. Into Penny and Terry's bedroom. Terry was hit multiple times and Penny was shot where she slept. Terry would later remember the shattering pain, the blinding noise, and the sound of his wife's final breath beside him. Still conscious barely, he heard something worse. His children screaming. Wade and Charlie moved through the hallway, entering the boys' rooms. Matthew and Tyler never stood a chance. The house that once held family prayers and bedtime stories had become a slaughterhouse. When the killers reached Erin's room, she wasn't asleep. She was awake, waiting. She climbed out the window and met Charlie outside. They walked away from the burning house together. Before leaving, Wade set the home on fire. Flames crawled up the walls, swallowing rooms one by one. Glass cracked, wood splintered, and black smoke billowed into the sky. The intruders believed they had killed everyone. They believed their plan was complete. But downstairs, amid blood, chaos, and fire, Terry Caffey was still alive. Barely able to breathe, bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds, he crawled across the floor. His house was collapsing around him, flames licking at the walls, but he dragged himself out, inch by inch, determined to survive. His sons were gone. His wife was gone. His home was burning. But he kept moving. He crawled 400 yards through the woods, leaving a trail of blood behind him, until he reached the home of a neighbor, banging weakly on the door before collapsing. When the neighbors opened it, the horror began to unfold.
This is Tommy Gaston. I've got a man that's been shot. He's out here at my house now.
Okay, so stay on the line. I'm going to contact you, the champion, okay?
Okay.
What's the address of your emergency?
This is Tommy Gaston. I've got a man that's been shot out here at my house.
Okay, so he's been shot?
Yes.
What's your address?
2320. Wait a minute. Hang on. It's 2063 County Road 2320. 2370.
County, are you on line?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you confirm address?
It shows 2063 Range County Road, 2370 on 911.
Right.
Okay. Is this an Emory?
Well, yes, it's Range County. That's Alba address.
2063 Range County Road, 2370.
Okay, so you're in Alba.
Got a victim there. The complainant says he's got a victim at his house that's been shot.
What, sir, are you there? Hello?
Hello?
First response.
Sir, can you hear me?
Hello?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All I can hear is counting. Counting, can you mute your radio?
I'm sorry.
Sir, alright, sir, I have a few questions that I need to ask you, okay? We're going to get you an ambulance. I need you to stay on the line with me, okay? Are you with the patient now?
Yes.
How old is he?
He's 41.
Is he conscious?
Yes.
And is he breathing?
Yes.
Okay. Sir?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. When did this happen?
I don't know. Just a little bit ago. And we've also got a house on fire out here.
And the house is on fire? Is the assailant still nearby?
Are they?
Is the person who shot him still nearby, sir?
Yes, he's right here at me.
You shot him?
No, I didn't. I don't know any more details. I've got to hang up and help him.
Sir, I have to ask you these questions. Okay, they're en route. Is there any serious bleeding?
Yes, he's bleeding.
Okay, is he completely awake?
Yes, he's awake.
Okay, what part of the body was
I
injured?
don't know, but I've got to go.
Sir, I need to know where he was shot.
Do what?
I need to know where he was shot
I
at.
don't know.
He's right there and you don't know where he was shot?
Yes.
Where's he bleeding
He's bloody all over.
He's bloody all over?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what he was shot with?
No,
Is there more than one wound?
I don't know.
Alright, sir, I need you to look and check
Helen.
so we can help him, okay?
Helen, give him a towel.
Sir? Hello.
This is County.
Did they hang up?
Yes, ma'am.
You got officers in route?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get any more information out of him than I did?
No, I was connecting right over as soon as he said there was a gunshot.
Okay. Alright, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Alright, bye.
The fire was still smoldering when deputies from the Rains County Sheriff's Office arrived at the Caffey home in the early hours of March 1, 2008. What they found was nearly incomprehensible. A house engulfed in flames, the bodies of Penny Caffey and her two young sons, Matthew and Tyler, and Terry Caffey, barely alive, shot multiple times and dragged himself through the burning wreckage in search of help. Terry, despite his wounds, whispered the truth to investigators. He had recognized the face of one of the assailants. His daughter Erin's boyfriend, Charlie Wilkinson. Within hours, officers tracked Wilkinson down to a mobile home belonging to his friend Charles Wade. Inside they found Wilkinson, Wade's girlfriend Bobby Johnson, and 16-year-old Erin Caffey. All four were arrested that same day and charged in connection with the murders. And almost immediately, detectives began to suspect that Erin was not just a survivor of the night's events, but deeply involved in the planning that led to her family's destruction. Charlie Wilkinson confessed, detailing how the plan had been formed and the roles each party played. In his statements and through Wade's testimony, Erin's involvement surfaced. Prosecution records indicate she had for weeks expressed a desire to remove what she saw as obstacles, her parents, and had spoken of not being able to stay away from Charlie unless something changed. In contrast, Erin initially claimed she had been kidnapped by Charlie and coerced into involvement, a defense that investigators rejected based on the weight of testimony and physical evidence. A tranquil East Texas community awoke to the horror of one of its own families destroyed from within. Erin, once a choir girl in the family's church, was now center stage in a nightmare. Her father, recovering in hospital, confronted not only the loss of his wife and sons but the possibility that his daughter had helped plan their deaths. How much did Erin know? How deeply was she involved? Investigators believed the evidence left little doubt. She was a participant, not merely a witness. Prosecutors would later characterize her role as integral to the planning and execution of the attack. And for Terry Caffey, the silence that followed was unbearable. He knew the man who stood trial for shooting him lay behind the door of his daughter's trust. In the haze of pain and loss, he resolved that his survival was not enough. Justice would find its way. When the arrests came, the world turned quickly. Erin Caffey, though only 16, was charged as an adult with 3 counts of capital murder alongside her boyfriend Charlie Wilkinson, and his friends Charles Wade and Bobby Johnson. According to the arrest affidavits, investigators described how Erin had been discussing the idea of killing her family with Charlie Wilkinson and Charles Wade so she could continue her relationship with Wilkinson. The group planned the attack and even attempted to enter the house earlier that night, but backed off when the family dog began barking. After Erin told them to return later, the attackers entered the home in the early morning hours. The violence began in Penny and Terry's bedroom with gunfire, followed by the use of a sword when they moved to the boys' rooms. The scene that unfolded matched the premeditated plan investigators later laid out in court. Charlie Wilkinson confessed. In his statement, he admitted that Erin instructed them when to go back inside, knew the combination to a safe, and packed her bags ahead of time. Erin pleaded guilty on January 2, 2009 to 2 counts of life in prison for her role, eligible for parole when she's 59. Wade and Wilkinson both accepted plea agreements. They were sentenced to life without parole. Johnson got 40 years with possibility of parole. While the legal machinery turned, one of the most wrenching stories was that of her father, Terry Caffey. He had survived being shot 5 times, crawled through burning wreckage in the woods of rural East Texas. But the hardest wound, he said, was the one no gun could inflict, the idea that his daughter might have been behind the massacre. In the hospital, days after surgery, he was told by investigators that Erin's involvement was great. He let out a gut-wrenching howl and just sobbed, the grief in his voice so intensely primal it renders the listener a useless voyeur. He asked the deputy, "Oh God, what kind of involvement did she?" And the response came. "Her involvement was great." The words hit harder than any bullet, he said. "I remember rising up from my hospital bed and just screaming out, 'No, it can't be, not Erin, not Erin.'" For a man whose job had been youth pastor, whose house had been the arena for Sunday school and family prayer, the reality that his daughter allegedly orchestrated the slaughter of his wife and children was a wound deeper than a gun could make. The trial never went to full jury verdict for most of the defendants. All 4 accepted plea deals, avoiding the death penalty. Erin was sentenced to life for her role. The prosecution had decided not to seek the death penalty against her, in part due to her age. Terry Caffey, released from hospital and rebuilding his life, had to confront the question, how do you love a daughter you believe planned your family's murder? For years, he said, there's no doubt in my mind that there was a demonic evil presence in my home that night. Yet in a twist few could fathom, years later he publicly forgave Erin. Not her actions but her as a human being. "I'm not her judge because that's God's role," he said.